As of this morning, tens of thousands of United Auto workers are on strike against General Motors. The workers seek better health care and increased job security. Even with negotiations underway, the walkout is something many presidential candidates will, of course, be addressing from the campaign trail. Over the past few hours, several candidates have already thrown their support behind those striking workers.
TYT correspondent Emma Vigeland has been keeping a close eye on the campaign, but she was at the Democratic debate last week. Emma joins us now via Skype with her insight on how the candidates might take on this strike and some other topics as well. Emma, it's great to see you.
Great to be here. Thanks so much. I was not at the debate.
Sorry, at New Hampshire. At New Hampshire. That's what I was going to ask you about.
It was like you were at the debate,
yeah, you basically
Emma.
were.
I felt like I was there. Joe Biden's speech and all of that.
That's right. Emma, I mean, give us your top line takeaways from the debate. What do you think that the media is getting wrong, and what do you think that you see coming out of that that's going to be the prevailing narrative from this point on?
Yeah, so what I think the media is getting wrong is that there was some outrageous misstep that Julian Castro made. I actually think he was the big winner of the debate, and I'm really in the minority here because a lot of the media keeps saying how uncouth he was and how rude he was. But the fact that anyone's talking about him at all is a huge win for him, and he took on Joe Biden in a way that other candidates weren't, like when Swalwell tried to go after him for his age and it totally fell flat. Castro went after him from the left, and that's why I thought it was effective, especially because I don't think that there were a ton of standouts from that particular night as opposed to round two, where Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were unbelievable and the clear standouts there. This was I think a lower quality of debate, so it allowed for someone like Castro to rise to the top.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it says everything about the media that they were way more upset about Julian Castro daring to challenge Joe Biden and how could he than they were about Biden's weird paternalism towards the African-American community and telling them they needed to play record players more for their kids.
Totally. That answer should be talked about on every airwave all the time because it was a really old school racist answer. And then on top of that unearthed corn pop story that we're seeing all throughout the media. I mean, Biden, once again, every single day, it seems, is proving that he's not the right candidate for this day and age. He may have done good things in the past, although a lot of his record in the past has been proven to be incorrect. But it just becomes more and more clear every day that he is a very old school kind of politician in an era where people really want their Democratic candidates to be progressive, not taking any shady money, and certainly not showing any of these signs of old school racism that Joe Biden is showing.
Mm-hmm. Emma, I know that you tracked something quite closely with Elizabeth Warren while you were in New Hampshire. You asked her why she voted for the military budget deal. I know that's something that has quite a few of our viewers very upset. Can you tell us what she told you and what your takeaway from that was?
Yes. So you cut out a little there, but I think I got the end of your question. Really just that what she said to me was she kind of dodged the question, right? She brought it back to corruption in the Trump administration and how she was fighting that, which is all great. She certainly is. But if you see the military budget as and the inflated military budget as an offset of the very corruption that you're trying to combat, then why vote for the increase? So she tried to reframe the question and didn't really answer it. I was in a press gaggle, so I didn't have a real opportunity to follow up. Those things are pretty ridiculous because you really don't get an opportunity to follow up and actually dive deep into the issues, as is one of the biggest problems with our media. So hopefully I'll get another opportunity to dive into that. But look, Elizabeth Warren has done phenomenal work with that corruption, but she didn't answer one blip in her record, and I think she should.
Mm-hmm. So you also attended a Biden event while you were in New Hampshire. What were your takeaways there? What was the energy like?
Energy. It's an interesting word. There was not much. So it was a lot of older people, more so than the other campaign events that I went to, and that was something that I did expect. But what I did not expect is, New Hampshire they take their role as the second state in the lineup and the first primary state after the Iowa caucuses very seriously. So all of the electorate there is really engaged. And so while you go to a Bernie Sanders rally in the area or an Elizabeth Warren rally or even a Beto O'Rourke rally, town hall I went to, it was much smaller than the Biden event, but there were actual supporters there. There were very few hardcore Biden supporters at this New Hampshire town hall. There were a lot of people who were merely interested in him and a lot of registered independents. So this is a very small sample size, but just based on the tenor of the conversation, based on what I've observed, I do think his polling numbers are inflated. And a lot of the hype around him as a general election candidate is really coming from centrists who aren't a factor as much in the primary race when it comes down to the actual voting.
Mm-hmm. Emma, I know you mentioned Julian Castro. Who else do you think were some of the winners out of the debate, and who's actually going to see some momentum?
So I think Andrew Yang is consistently a winner in these debates because he's different, right? So he shows that he is a different kind of politician in the same way that Bernie Sanders has his entire career, but people kind of know what Bernie's going to say at this point. Andrew Yang is showing a really different side of the Democratic electorate and all these new ideas that I think really resonate with people, and people are getting excited about what he has to say. So I made this prediction that I think he'll get more farther along in the process than someone like Amy Klobuchar or Cory Booker, and maybe get more delegates than him combined, if he gets any at all. But I really do think the desire for an outsider still remains in the Democratic electorate, no matter how much Trump has given everyone such PTSD. So I think he really stood out. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders kind of did their same thing. Again, I thought in the last two debates, in the second debate, they really stood out this time, specifically Bernie. This time around, I wouldn't say that they did. The biggest real loser for me was like Amy Klobuchar, Joe Biden, and Kamala really didn't do well either, in my view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Yang, it was sort of hilarious when he announced, like, we're going to do this freedom dividend thing, which is core to his campaign. Everybody knows about it and has talked about it. The other candidates on the stage, many of them didn't know what to do with it. Mayor Pete sort of nervously giggled. Pundits completely panned his performance. The New York Times gave him the lowest rating of any of the candidates. They also give him so many fewer debate minutes than any of the other candidates. And yet, you know, the poll of college students that came out of who won the debate, Andrew Yang was right up there, and I know from his campaign that they had the highest traffic on their website that they've ever had. So it seems to me like the pundits just cannot wrap their head around Andrew Yang.
Totally. And the snickering that you're referring to from Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris was especially maddening because, you know, they're bringing new ideas to the table. Are Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris talking about any ideas? Seriously. It's like Kamala Harris sat down with her consultants, and basically said, talk about anecdotes the entire time. Do not mention any policy. Talk about your grandmother. Talk about your aunt's best friend's dog. Whatever it is, talk anything but policy. And that's what her strategy seemed to be. Go after Trump, do platitudes. So to laugh at someone like Andrew Yang while he's really a peer for you on stage shows the elitism of some of the mindset of those more establishment Democrats running the race.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Emma. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Emma.
Thank you, guys.
Coming up, at least 9 Colorado Democrats are making a run for that Senate seat there, including establishment favorite and former presidential candidate John Hickenlooper.
Our conversations with 2 of Governor Hickenlooper's primary challenges next.